Hi everybody, welcome back to Quick Resume, episode 21. We're experiencing some Wi-Fi technical difficulties currently. So, I'm on the fly doing this intro again for the second time. So, my name's Dec, and here's Tim. We've got bad news on all fronts, on the bodily front, on the gaming front. Quite frankly, I don't know where to start.
Yeah, man, kind of sucks. I think this is probably going to be the biggest bummer episode of QR ever, to be brutally honest. So we're kind of a little bit hungover. This is the hungover edition, Quick Resume podcast, episode 21. So, and then obviously the news. I'm sure some of you keep up with some of the headlines and everything. Obviously, we go over it in more detail, but the news hasn't been fantastic this week either. So yeah.
No, if you're wanting a happy podcast to listen to, click away now because this is not it. Having said that, we are absolutely hilarious, and so I'm sure we'll be able to find a way to turn this into a good time. Fuck, dude. Oh, I shouldn't swear at the beginning of YouTube videos. That's what they say. Oh well, we're there now. We've done it. Shit. All right. So, Tim,
my money.
How are you, buddy?
Yeah. I'm good. I'm good. Like I said, a little bit hungover today. Because for those of you who listen to the podcast, I do play cricket every single weekend, and we play like league cricket, and there's like a whole point system. Play against loads of other clubs around West Sussex, and we got officially promoted. So we'll be going up a division next season. So celebrations were had, and
reason for bevs.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm feeling a little bit fragile. It wasn't like super bad. Like I've had worse hangovers than this, but it was pretty bad. And obviously that's kind of why we've delayed doing the podcast until now, which is why we're all sitting in dark rooms doing it in the evening. Because we were just a little bit too fragile to do it earlier in the day. Apart from that, sort of like gaming wise this week, the same old Apex sort of stuff.
Drum roll.
We're always on the Apex grind. Hey, other things as well, you piece of shit.
All right,
Jesus.
Blow me away.
I kind of feel like I'm just a clown on this fucking podcast. I've actually been playing loads of Curse of the Dead Gods, which was a new addition to Games Pass, and a little flex as well. Like I did buy it on my Switch, but I had hardly played it. Like genuinely about 30 minutes of time clocked on it. Which is not to say it's a bad game; it's a fantastic game. I think I've done 5 dungeons now without dying a single time. I have yet to die in that game since booting it up.
Whoa.
I know, man. I have to admit though, it's tough, don't get me wrong, but it's not Hades tough. Like Hades, I feel like is just more fast paced in like every single way, and they force you into making decisions really quickly. Whereas Curse of the Dead Gods, you can kind of like, I feel like my Monster Hunter past and stuff like that has helped me just analyze movement patterns and attack patterns and stuff like that, and I'm able to just take it slowly and beat everything. Like all the bosses do have tough mechanics, but I just sit back and I see what they'll do, and I'm like, okay, well, I figured out the pattern already, so, and then it's just rinse repeat, and I beat the boss first time every time.
It's reviewed really well, actually, isn't it? I didn't realize it was reviewed that well.
Yeah, no, it's a really good game, man.
It's got 90 on Metacritic.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Like graphically, it's really nice, and the whole concept of it as well. Like most people just think, oh, another Hades clone or something like that, but it is very different in a lot of ways. It's a lot more weapon focused and stuff like that. You can get some really cool weapons with some really cool effects and stuff like that, and there are loads of different combos to have. Because you've got a main weapon, you've got an offhand weapon, and then you've got a heavy weapon as well. So you've got 3 different weapon types you can carry with you in a run, and then there's loads of different categories within all those weapon types. So like There's the build variety is really good.
Mm.
Yeah, no, yeah. So
Yeah, I
I've
was
been
going to say
enjoying that.
it seems like Curse of the Dead Gods is kind of a bit. I mean, from what I can see, it's kind of a bit like Monster Train is to Slay the Spire, as Curse of the Dead Gods is to Hades. You know, it's just kind of a victim of its release window. Like, really good game on its own, but happens to come out in a time where a game like redefines the genre that it's in. You know,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
which is
no, for
really
sure.
weird because like they came out so similarly that it's not like one could have possibly influenced the other. I know they've been in early access for a while, some of these games, but I mean maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. I'll have to check it out at some point actually because I didn't realize it was. I mean, I know you speak about it really positively, but I didn't realize it was reviewed so well.
yeah, no, yeah, it is really good, man. And yeah, I do think the release window of just when it came out is what really hurt it. Because I like it and I think it's a great game, but I still don't think it's a patch on Hades, you know. And that's just because I played Hades first, and like you said, it kind of just it just made the genre so much better. That game, it took it in so many new directions and made it really good. Um, but no, I'm having a
Yeah.
lot of fun with it. It's a totally different pacing and stuff like that. So yeah, no, it's good.
Mm. And like speaking of which, I just completed my first Hades run today. So go me.
You did. Congrats, man. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
How did it feel?
Yeah, I
How did it
just because
feel
it's
beating Hades?
really good. Yeah, fucking great, man. I because it's just it's literally just because it's come back out on Xbox and I can play it on Switch because I've been playing on Switch for a while, but I put the game down for a while. But you know, I always thought it was amazing, but just time and whatever. And because it's come like there's like more conversation around it, I was like, I kind of want to play it again. So just only took me a couple more runs to like polish it off because when I put it down, I was getting quite near the end, like I was fighting Hades sort of thing. Yeah,
Mm.
it felt good, man. I like it. Yeah, I like the ending as well. Yeah, it's just, I mean, I don't need to say it again, but you know, it's such a fucking accomplishment, that game.
It's amazing.
But
Yeah.
yeah, good time. It was a good time.
What
Um,
weapon did you do it with? Did you beat it with for your first run?
say again.
What weapon did you beat it with for
Say
your
that
first
again.
run? What
It
weapon?
was the fists, the gauntlets.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I remember you telling me.
with
Yeah, yeah,
the second aspect, which is like the magnetized one where it pulls. I don't even know why I had that. I don't know. I must have unlocked it a while back when I thought the fists were cool. Or maybe do you get the second one by No, you don't.
yeah. No.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I just cheese Poseidon stuff and Athena stuff. So I was like really tanky. Like I'd like batter people away like into walls for like 500% damage and shit like that. Yeah, it's just cool. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was good
Nice.
stuff. I um I also like literally half an hour before hopping into the podcast today completed Death's Door. It's all done.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Jesus,
I
that's
have closed the
embarrassing for
Death
me.
Door. No, it's not, man.
Thanks. Well, I've been playing Curse of the Dead
No.
Gods and I haven't died yet, so
Well, and that's exactly, and that's great. You should
really,
be proud of
who's
that.
the real gamer here?
Exactly. Yeah, and that was. I'm glad I finished it. I wouldn't have wanted it to go on for another 5 hours. But I do kind of miss it. Like I don't know, it was just so. It gave off just a very unique sort of vibe, I think. But yeah, it was a great time. I probably would score it somewhere in the 85 to 90 range. It was really, really good. Very, very tight. All the puzzles are really interesting. I still, like last week, check out Quick Resume Podcast, episode 20, for more Death Store impressions. But just like last week, how we said that the health segments and the magic segments, like 4 is too many for it. But I got 3 on both and the game ended. Like, that's what I
Oh my
fucking mean.
god,
Like, that's just
you never,
annoying.
you never even got a max health upgrade.
No. So I found
Damn.
six total like secrets and puzzles that I did, and there was no payoff. So I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it does kind of suck.
other than that, game is awesome, and there was some nice little like story threads towards the end as well that sort of tied it all together. And I watched the true ending on YouTube because I wasn't going to do the whole. Like, I was having a look at the steps to do it, and it's like bonkers. Like, it would be another like 20 hours of gameplay. So I just watched the true ending online, and that was really cool as well. So yeah, I get the feeling that Tim may have vanished, so we're just going to pause for a second. Hi everyone, oopsie doops, we're back. Couple of I did give you a warning at the beginning. We are having a bit of issues, so you'll have to bear with us. But sorry about that. So yeah, so that was it for Death's Door, really. Other than that, not much else has been going on. I am excited to dig my teeth into 12 minutes, which is on the agenda today. So we'll swing back around to that because that's out now onto Games Pass. But, you know, while we're at it, the meat and potatoes of the episode. Tim.
Yes.
Why am I not going to be able to play the co-op campaign of Halo Infinite with you on launch day? Why is that a thing? Why has that happened? Small indie dev Microsoft should not be having these sorts of fucking issues.
Yeah.
I'm mad about it. I'm bubbling. What was your reaction? Because I remember I messaged you. I don't know if you'd seen the news before I'd messaged you, but like,
No.
What were you feeling?
Well, first of all, can I just say that this issue wouldn't happen if Bungie was still developing it? No, I'm kidding. I just wanted to trigger like everyone on the internet. My initial feelings were just sadness, right? It was just pure sadness because I don't think I've ever played a solo Halo campaign. I've always done it with somebody, apart from Combat Evolved. And, you know, I didn't really play 2. But, like, you know, 3 onwards, I've always played it with you. And it's just like, why the fuck can't I play it with you? Like,
that's a kick in the nuts.
It's ridiculous. Like, this game I've forgiven it for a lot of things. It's taken its time. It's given me some throat punches that I've just had to take. I've just taken them. It's fine, and I'm like, whatever it takes, just to make a good fucking game.
And now you've got a muscly throat.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so there are some positives, but like, and then it's finally coming out, and then it's just that, but it's not really a full product anymore, and it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake, man! Like, oh my, it really did annoy me. I mean, the Forge thing didn't trigger me too bad because I was like, let's be honest, no one's just going to dive straight into Forge. Everyone's going to play a campaign first. Everyone's going to dabble in the multiplayer first. That's going to keep people entertained for a very long time. Custom games not being there, well, they will be there, just not on custom maps. But like, so that sucks, right? But it's not co-op campaign missing. Sucks. Like that just blows, right?
It's I don't know. I really don't know where to start because I was driving home, and this is part of like the whole bad news episode. You know, I was driving around the bloody country on Saturday, going to a hospital appointment for my partner, and then they had forgotten about the appointment by the fucking way, and we didn't get to do it. We drove for 6 hours total there and back. And then there was no appointment to be had. And on the way back, it flashed up on my phone because I had like my sat nav on, or, you know, Google Maps or whatever, and it came, popped down, read it, you know, r/Xbox One, Halo will not be launching with co-op campaign or Forge, and I saw it, and my eye started quivering, my eyelid, and I was like, that's got to be a joke. Like, that's got to be a joke. And like, obviously, I wasn't gonna like pull over on the motorway, but like, I need to check, I need to see if this is real. So I was just sitting there driving, and my speed on I was like, it's very slowly getting quicker and quicker on the motorway, and I was like, that can't be real. That's got to be a joke post. That's got to be a joke post. And like, Beth was like, Tech, you're doing 90. Can you slow down a bit? I was like, oh fuck, I'm sorry.
90. I was anyway.
Well, yeah, but you know, whatever. She wasn't comfortable with it, and it's just, so I mean, there is a lot of nuance to this. But I mean, obviously, yeah, huge kick in the nuts. I've seen a lot of like different reactions about it across the internet. I don't know if you've seen the video where they announced it, which was like another Inside Infinite, which they didn't really talk about much else other than like information they got from the flighting and how that's going to feed back in. And they did announce another flighting, to try and sugarcoat it a little bit, which was like PvP big team battle at the end of the month. So they'll probably announce it at Gamescom, like an actual date. So that's obviously nice, but I'm annoyed that I have to make this compromise. I can't think of another game where I have to make this compromise. And it's like, we're talking about Halo. We're not talking about, like, I wouldn't even be, if this was a small game, but it's not a small game. And
yeah, I mean, the best way you put it when you messaged me as well was just like, okay, so now our options are to just play the game to play the campaign solo, which we don't want to do, or we have to avoid spoilers for like 3-4 months. And it's just like, I don't feel like as a consumer I should be having to do this. Like, no, right? It's ridiculous.
Maybe it's just a big ARG. It's just a big AR game, like to just like make everyone feel anxious, and then Xbox going to be like, just kidding. The anxiety you felt was much like the anxiety Chief is going to feel in his latest breakdown in Halo Infinite. I don't know, man.
God,
it's weird, and of course, like, because we've spoken about this on the show before, and we've spoken about like the possibility of another delay, or like the idea of them releasing campaign and multiplayer as separate things. And then we've also spoken about like how stacked Halo is as a game, and like the expectations of that, and that generally games don't get made like that anymore. The only game I can think of like that is COD, really, and they have like 6 teams. Activision has like 4,000 people working on it. 343 is a big team, but it's not the same. I don't really know if we're going into the realm of making excuses, but I think there is a degree of like, we expect a lot from Halo, and so in reality, if they had said at the beginning, Halo is going to launch with a solo single player campaign, and the game's balanced around that and designed around that, and we're going to have a fully stacked, multiplayer suite with the firing range and all of that. And then they said, now we'll add co-op campaign in 3 months' time and Forge 6 months' time. We'd probably be like, yeah, that's like live service, that we're accustomed to that. But because it's Halo and you expect there to be massive campaign, massive multiplayer, Forge, maybe Firefly, like all of these massive modes, loads of playlists, because that expectation is there. When they're taken away from you, you're like, this is unbelievable. The world is crumbling around me. And there was a bit of that, like when I read the news, because I was like, I just wanted, more than anything, I was happy to see like positivity around Halo again, like more than anything, because people were coming out of the flights really, really good. It's been nothing but glowing reception, and there was really like, you could feel the wheels were starting to turn on that hype train, and I just feel like this has kind of put a right dent in that. So I guess let's steer the conversation a bit into like, do you feel that this is obviously not a favorable compromise. They have to do this because they have to do it. The game isn't at where they wanted it to be at. That's fine. Not an easy decision. Would you prefer that the game gets delayed another 3 months? So, maybe Forge is still 3 months out, but it's with co-op campaign. Or would you prefer the way that they're doing it? Because this has been quite the debate online.
Yeah, I don't know. It's quite a tough one, to be honest.
Bearing in mind that everything else is probably ready to go.
Yeah. So I think, given the situation, the shit sandwich of a situation we're in, and if I had to pick between those two shit scenarios, I'd probably pick shit scenario number 1, which is the one we're in. Like, yeah, yes, I would probably still take it as it is, because I know that I can still sink countless hours with my friends into the multiplayer, and I will enjoy that. And you can still do custom games and stuff like that. It just won't be on your own custom made maps, I'm sure. Like, you could still play around with all these things, but just use the built maps, the built multiplayer maps.
No, don't know, actually. Yeah,
actually, they'll probably pull that from under our feet in the next week or two anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd probably take it as it is. But it does bum me out that I am, because I won't, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to play the campaign solo.
Well, I've been going back and forth on this, because
if you do, then I probably will, but
part of me kind of wants to a little bit, and I'm not, and now I don't know. I think there is like a difficulty that comes with making these games co-op, especially if they're trying to make an actual story out of it. You know, like the early Halos, it was like, you know, easy breezy story. Or you're playing something like Borderlands, you know, it's just fart jokes and shit like that. So you don't have to like listen to
than you think.
well, yeah, whatever. But like, you know, but like in like the recent Halos, like they're trying to actually like make a narrative, and obviously, you know, 5 was whatever. And so I was like going back and forth on like, obviously if you're talking through it, you're just not getting the same experience. So I have been going back and forth on that. And like with this as well, I've been thinking like maybe I will play it single player. Like it depends on the reception. If it gets an amazing reception, I probably will solo it. But if it's like, oh, it's good, you know, it's good, then I'll wait and we'll play that co-op, and you know, to bolster the experience.
Yeah, I'm probably on the same boat. I mean, I'll kind of play off how you approach the situation as well, because we would do the co-op together. And I mean, is Halo campaigns, have they always only been 2, or can you do them up to 4?
The earlier ones were just 2. Like I think Halo 2 was 2.
I think 4 and 5 you could do 4, couldn't you?
4 and 5 was 4 for sure, and 3 you could do 4 because you all just played as there was Chief, Arbiter, and then like 2 random elites. That was how that kind of worked.
Yeah. So like I would never want to do it with like 3 or 4 people. I think that's just a bit too chaotic, and you would just start to lose the story and the whole vibe of everything. I feel like just keeping it to 2 people, like me and you playing it together. That's how. Yeah. That's my ideal experience. But yeah. So I'll kind of play off how you go about it. But yeah, but of course, I would play it solo rather than ignore it and then have it spoiled. I think that would suck more.
Exactly, but like you know, like I say, I had been thinking about this even before the news that we had this week. Like, especially with all like the gameplay that we've seen, not gameplay, but you know, marketing material essentially. Not that that's ever been a good indicator of what's actually in the game anyway. But it seems to be that, you know, they're building up a lot more like narrative elements, whether it's like new Cortana or like, you know, the pilot, or, you know, Chief actually having a palette of emotions, you know, things like that. And these, like, this is something, yeah, and I don't know, I feel like a lot of that can be spoiled by playing it co-op. But, you know, I wasn't quite sold on necessarily doing it single player yet, so I don't know, man. I don't know. It's but no, I shouldn't have to make that compromise, and that's the annoying thing. If they have to, then they have to, but it sucks for us. And like, I think this is what, like you were saying, you know, you ultimately, if everything else is ready to go, we would have probably made the same decision. You know, if we were in the studio and we saw what Joseph Staten sees in the studio, right, you know, we want to get everything out, but we have to delay some things to hit this window, because, you know, they've committed to the holiday 2021 now, and it's like they're just not going to delay it again. And, you know, Phil's on record as well saying like, we're not going to launch multiplayer and campaign separately, even though we have insiders saying that that was really heavily considered. And I bet they considered it again. I bet because they're launching as 2 different products. Like the marketing material has Halo Infinite multiplayer and Halo Infinite campaign, like listed as 2 separate entities. So like, I really reckon that they were this close to shipping them both at the same time. And, you know, that begs the question, would that have been better? Would that have been preferable if they just launched, you know, multiplayer, let's say in November, and then we get the campaign maybe in April 2022 with the full suite, you know, co-op, Forge, you know, would that be preferable? You know, and I think to us, like, yeah, maybe actually. But I think for a lot of the people who have that expectation of like Halo as a full package, that would just, you know, it would kill people. Even though that's not weird. That's not weird. You know, we live in a realm of Fortnite and Apex and Warzone. You know, these free to play shooters. We live in an age of Battlefield, fucking 2042 coming out at the end of the year with a lot of excitement, may I add, which is multiplayer only for full price. So like, this is not even egregious. Like this whole Halo news isn't even bad. It's just because it's Halo and like, we're used to this and we want this. So yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. You know, I don't know. What do you think? Would you have chosen a multiplayer and campaign separate launch dates instead?
Potentially, yeah. It's again, it's really hard to tell, because like you said, if it does review well, the campaign, and people are like, oh, this is pretty shit hot, then I would like to play that solo and have it right now, like regardless. because it's still going to be just a great story experience. I hope. I don't get to play it with you, but I can play it with you again, like later down the line. So yeah, it kind of really depends on what I feel the product will be. And I feel like they've done a good job on it. So I would still probably take the scenario we're in now because I feel like they have. My gut feeling is the story will be good, and it will be one of the better Halos for a long time. So sure, I'll play it solo,
Yeah,
rather than having to wait till fucking halfway through next year or something like that for it to ship.
totally.
Yeah. So.
And like with like as well, I can see why they made the decision they did, because if they can get the full multiplayer suite out, the full multiplayer suite, not like Halo 5, which was, criticized for not many maps, not good maps, only a few playlists, no ranked, poor customization, all of that. If they have all of that fixed for Infinite, then most of like the socializing aspect of Halo is going to come from there, and ultimately, if I have to pick and choose my time probably would be like in multiplayer, at least to begin with, for the
Mhm.
first maybe few months, in which case, we're looking at a few months again before co-op campaign is now out. So when I first read this news, I was like, I think on reflection, I think I overreacted a bit. Like, it's still annoying, and I think it more than anything, it annoys me that this like is a bad otherwise a bad reflection on the game. For, like I said, as the game's been picking up steam, it's now annoying to see people like lose confidence in it again, especially because we keep hearing
Mhm.
people speak about like oh, this game must have been through development hell and everything. And it's like nothing really, no insiders are saying that. Nobody's actually saying that. Jason Schreier said he's going to try and do a report on 343. But, it's essentially they're tasked with, there has been like upper management like leaving. Obviously, Joseph Staten took over from Chris Lee last year. That is just a fact, and but they have also developed a new engine for Halo, which has never been done. It's always been on the Blam engine. They've also gone through the pandemic, so it's just like, which we know that they have struggled to adjust to. So it's just annoying that this kind of feeds into that narrative, and that you used the word earlier yourself. It gives off the vibe that it's unfinished. Especially when you
Yeah.
compound it with like last year's E3 showing, which looked unfinished. It was
Mm.
unfinished, to be fair, but that's what annoys me more than anything, and it annoys me that I know reviewers shouldn't, but they will knock points off. They won't review the package in
Mhm.
front of them. They'll review the package in front of them and then the things that they know are coming down the line,
Yeah.
which they shouldn't. That kind of defeats the point of a reviewer if you're just like, well, this game would be great if you could drive a train, but you can't because it's not in the game. So it's just that annoys me as well, because I was really hoping that Infinite would be like, a smash critical success.
Yeah.
Please stop me speaking. Take over. I'm gonna
I mean,
pass out.
yeah. I mean, it's just it's this whole idea of a full package that we've been sold on for such a long time now, since it was announced, and we've had delay after delay after delay after delay promising us this will be a full package, and now it's finally got a release date for all these delays and all of these, them basically explaining the reason why we delayed it is because we want it to come out as a full fucking package and ready to go, and now it's not again, and it's just, I don't
That's
know,
yeah.
it just kind of feels like they were just telling us little white lies just to like sort of keep us keep us going, and then they just pulled the rug from under our feet again. Like, it just seems a bit snaky. But yeah, I obviously I do understand all the development issues they've had, like you said, people coming and going every now and again. I don't think it's been development hell, but like I do understand there have been issues and the world's changed so much. So like I'm quite lenient on it, but like I don't know, it's just punch after punch after punch. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
just taking on this game. Like I had this game in my mind that I was going to play it with my Xbox when I bought it,
Yeah,
and now we're still not even getting a complete package. We're getting a decent experience still. It's not the end of the world, like you said. It's not blow it out of proportion, like it. But even now, this far down the line, it's still not this complete package.
exactly.
And I know it's this idea of Halo, and like you said, games don't really do that anymore in the sort of age we live in. This entire package thing, but Halo does, and they told us they were going to give it to us. So we're right to believe them, and we're right to be pissed off when we don't get it. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, it isn't the end of the world. I'm not. I'm bummed out, but I'm not. I'm not like holding up a picket fence saying "burn down 343."
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. It's just, yeah. They needed better image 343. That's the thing. They've got a bad rep at this point, and I don't want them to. And the thing is, I'm just trying to be led by what I've played so far, and Infinite really, like the flighting rather, sorry, really blew me away. So like I'm still quite confident in like what they have ready, and I just think they've had to make the difficult decision to like ultimately scrub up in some areas and cut some things off. I don't know why the time management has been this bad. Do we put it down to purely the pandemic and the swapping and chopping of upper management, or do we put it down to like a bit of incompetence or like the upper management, or someone? Why isn't Matt Booty stepping in here sometimes and be like, we're not on target, maybe we shouldn't announce Halo in 2018, or maybe they were on target and the pandemic shut them down. I mean, it's it's just speculation after speculation, but it's just, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good, because as I say, because the flighting played so well, but nonetheless people already, like 343's margin of error, we've said this before, 343's margin of error is so fucking slim. Like we spoke
yeah,
about like the color, like a couple of weeks ago we spoke about like the color options and the shader systems and things like that, and that's a pretty small thing overall. And like people were like going mental over that sort of shit. Halo 5, it was the black undercoat, and like people go mental for that
yeah,
sort of shit with Halo, so that they have such a small margin of error. And I think they were doing really well to stay in that up until this week. Like the delay, everybody understood. We saw the campaign gameplay. Most people thought on like a gameplay level it looked really good. Graphics, it needed a bit more time. I think everybody was understanding of that, but like this is that thing of like it's just a bummer. It's
yeah.
just a bummer. But
What
it's thank.
what's been this sort of? I mean, have you been trolling through Reddit? Has it been pretty? Are people being quite understanding, and they're like us, where they're picking it apart and they're like, "It sucks. It's not the end of the world," or are
It's
people
very
being quite
varied.
savages? Like, and there's a lot
Yeah,
of like
it's.
YouTubers that dedicate obviously their lives and channels to this. I wonder how they're responding to all this. It'd be quite interesting.
I think it really, from what I've seen, it like really varies. Across like Twitter, a couple of forums, Reddit, YouTube comments, things like that. From what I've seen, it's like really varies. Some people are like, don't really use Forge anyway, or rather, like, I don't need that at launch, so that's fine. And then other
Hmm.
people are definitely a bit more intensely disappointed about the co-op campaign. But there have been more people than I thought that would, that are like, I mostly buy Halo for the multiplayer, or that say I usually just play Halo single player. I've seen a
Yeah,
lot of comments like that, so they're saying co-op, but that's actually no big loss to me.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then
There
there are
will be
people who've
loads of
been
people like
saying,
that.
yeah, and then there have been people saying as well, it's like, at least it's launching without it is, not ideal, but at least it's coming, because, we think about some other things like Halo 5. To this day, it still doesn't have split screen multiplayer. You can't do that, so
Mm.
these things are missing on day one. Live service things, whatever, whether, I don't necessarily know if it's fair to put it in the unfinished camp, or like, shortened scope camp. I don't know where it really falls there on that spectrum, but there are definitely some people who feel that this makes the game feel like an unfinished product as well. Which
Hmm.
is, I think, is fair. Like you said, it's their expectations of Halo, as big as they may be. That's their sort of cross to sort of carry. Um,
Yeah, I
so
mean,
yeah, it's just been a mix, man.
it's expectations, but it's not us just expecting. It's like I said, we
It's not
we
unfounded, is it? Yeah.
yeah we were told we were getting this. Like
Yeah.
Like it's not us. We didn't conjure up this image of Halo Infinite. It's only what we were sold, right? And now we're just being sold 80% of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
And I will say there is another studio that delivers games on this scope, and they don't have a fucking problem. And that studio is the Coalition. Gears 5 had like 5 game modes.
Yeah.
But so with co-op campaign, may I add, so it's you can't help but think that this is a bit of a bad reflection on not only 343 and Halo, but also like it just is, it spreads a bit to like Xbox. It makes you think. I said it earlier, like why wasn't this nipped in the bud? Like why did they even like commit to holiday 2021? Like did nobody have a timeline for like where they thought they'd be at? Because if maybe they just didn't want to push it back even further, I guess like the longer these projects run, the deeper the hole burns in the pocket. So, and like we said earlier, like if the campaign's ready and the multiplayer's ready for the most part, they're just sitting on money by not putting it out. So I guess like we said, it's very nuanced, this conversation, but yeah, I think it annoys me that Xbox and Halo have done so well over the last 2 years, really since the build up since the Series X reveal, to build up goodwill and excitement around the first party. But Halo is part of that, and now this is just a big kick to that. Ultimately, I think this will fade out. I don't think this will like last. I've noticed actually today and yesterday that people aren't talking about it as much anymore. Because at the end of the day, we're still getting a massive open world new engine Halo. That's still very exciting. And we're still getting like the full multiplayer suite. That's still a big game. The multiplayer is free to play. The single players on Games Pass, these are still like massive value. All I hope is that they've made the right decision, and that this means that what we do get is really good.
Yeah.
That's literally it. Because if it now comes out and is like one of the lower reviewing Halos, that's going to really piss me off, because I'm like, I don't understand why you're delaying things like piecemeal when things needed more work, so.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think we've kind of said all we can on the matter. Let's just wait and see what we get on release, right? And like I said, my gut feeling is that I do think the story will be good. So
no, I think it will be as well.
And if it is, then I'll be willing to suck it up and play it solo. It's not the end of the world. If your game's good enough, I don't care whether or not it's co-op that much.
Right.
I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is my thing. It's like if if it's really knuckled down and it's really good, I think people will forget.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So, just to cap it off, there's this news was obviously announced last Friday, and for those who are savvy, notice that Bad News Friday is very much a thing. But bad news is often dropped from PR on Friday because people go into the weekend and forget about it quicker. And Microsoft like to open weeks Mondays or Tuesdays with good news, and there have been a couple of insiders saying that there's some good stuff coming on Tuesday. Tuesday obviously being Gamescom. So the silver lining to this is that this is likely a planned 1-2 punch of let's give them some bad news on Friday to swallow. We'll announce some stuff on Tuesday. And there's already been like a decent amount of expectation setting in terms of what Gamescom is. But if we're seeing new gameplay of like a number of games that are coming out this year, whether that's Scorn, Crossfire X, Gunk, things like that, that's still pretty exciting. This is all Games Pass stuff. And to be honest, Xbox's recent like third party indie game stuff has been really good. They're on a good streak, across Death's Door, 12 Minutes Ascent, and so on. So, so yeah, that's kind of the silver lining to sort of cap that off. I mean, are you happy with that? Are you done? Because I feel like I could go on and on about this.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't.
I feel like we've ever so slightly repeated ourselves in some scenario. We've pretty much talked most angles about it. Yeah, it is what it is, right? Sucks, but yeah.
It does, and hopefully, I think people will forget about this as we go into, if they come in the Gamescom and show like some campaign gameplay and it looks wicked, I think people will forget quite quickly. So
yeah, I agree.
Not a deal breaker, I don't think, for most people, but still not ideal. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm confident with what I've played so far of Halo, and if that continues to be the case, then it's a compromise I understand.
Yeah.
Cool. Allegedly, Halo. This news didn't get much traction. I was a bit surprised. Allegedly, Halo's going to have a photo mode. I mean, maybe that's just not a big deal because a lot of games have photo modes nowadays. But I can't think of a Xbox Game Studio game that's had photo mode for some reason. I just don't think they have. Maybe Forza does. Yeah, I'm sure Forza does.
Yeah. Forza definitely does. Yeah.
But I can't think of any others. So I mean, that's just worth slipping in there, I guess.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I could play around with photo mode and use some cool backgrounds with Chief there and make that my my Xbox background. Be kind of cool. Yeah, nice.
Oh, I wanted to say as well, actually, on the video where they made that announcement, the Inside Infinite thing for the delay of those features, there was just like a very like quick camera pan of like a gameplay on some screens, and on one of them it was like campaign gameplay, but it was like very, very quick. But on it you could see like a couple of like banished outposts, and we saw a little bit of that in the little glimpse we got last year, or sorry, this year's E3. And it just it looked very cool. Like that was literally it. Like it looks like it's one of those things. It's like it feels a bit Breath of the Wildy. I know we've said this before, but like going into shrines and stuff, like seeing them on the horizon. Oh, there's a banished outpost. Let's go in there. Do that. Maybe get a power weapon, sort of thing. So
Or something like Valhalla. When you storm those villages.
Oh yeah, the fortresses, the sieges.
Gold, and you get like the gold bars and stuff like that for like upgrade points and stuff like that. It could be something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I do quite like that.
Yeah, I hope we do get some more campaign gameplay because I mean maybe they just keep it close to their chest, but I think there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of question marks with Infinite's campaign.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see.
Hopefully we'll have more to talk about that next week after Gamescom. We'll see. They may or may not show some more of that, but we'll have to see. 12 Minutes came out this week. I was really hoping to have like played it before this episode because we don't have much to talk about because neither of us have touched it. However, the reviews were good, a little bit polarizing, but it was like a 79 open critic, so we're essentially looking at an 8 overall, which is obviously still very good. But there was like the range was quite big. There were like lots of 9s and 10s, but there was a couple of 5s in there, a handful of 6s. I mean, what are your thoughts about this game from what you've seen on the marketing materials?
Oh, sorry, I just sneezed and then I unmuted my mic.
Also, I was wondering what that was.
No, I think this game looks pretty cool. The sort of marketing I've seen behind it, the gameplay trailers and stuff like that. This is one that has like James McAvoy is one of the voices, isn't it, or something?
James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and William Dafoe.
Oh, William Dafoe! I like William Dafoe.
Yeah,
no, it definitely looks very cool and very unique. I was definitely on board with it. Whether or not it's my exact cup of tea, I won't know until I play it. But it definitely caught my eye and caught my interest, and I'm glad that it's doing well. Because it is quite it's quite an out there game. It's very different in what it's trying to do. I like that they're incorporating a lot of like famous actors and all that, voice acting, this sort of stuff, especially when it kind of feels like indie like, because I feel like when you see big actors and stuff like that, it's in Call of Duty, Kevin Spacey, well, he's buying bars now, but Kevin Spacey in Call of Duty, stuff like that. It's just these big titles. It's quite refreshing to see that. I mean, these guys were clearly approached with this game, and they were like, "You want to do some voicing in this game? You want to be the voice in this game?" And like, they obviously clearly liked the idea of the game too, right? They were probably sold on it, being quite a small indie title, and they were like, "Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, I'll be a voice actor in this." And you kind of feel like it was probably a bit of a passion project from both the developer side of things and the people doing all the voice acting. And seems to have definitely come out looking that way. So
Yeah, I mean,
I'm definitely interested to give it a go. So
yeah, for sure. I've just had a quick look at like sort of time to complete, and it seems to be sort of 6 to 8 hours. So I think it's a good amount of time for that sort of game, because it's like a point and click adventure. I don't know if you know, it's like a point and click game, obviously in the room of the 12 minutes happen, and it's also from Annapurna Interactive, or they're the publisher. I actually don't know who the developer is. I think it's just one guy from what I know. But Annapurna would have been obviously the people who approached high profile voice actors and said, "Look, we'll give you some money," because I think Annapurna also are they have published like movies as well, that they started out as movie publishers and now they're games, and they anyway. What I'm going with this is that they make some fucking great games. Some of my favorite games ever are from Annapurna. What Remains of Edith Finch, Outer Wilds. Ashen as well was by them. Donut County I happened to play and it was actually pretty good. Yeah, things like that. So I just have a lot of faith in Annapurna, man. I think they're really they've got like Devolve Digital, like everything they release, all of their indie games are like shit hot. I feel like Annapurna are kind of like that. They just have they do something right. Their quality control is just really good. So yeah, I'm with you there. I'm excited to try it, and being a Games Pass game, it's one of those things. I'm just really I'm really enjoying this steady cadence of like good indie games that are coming to Games Pass at the moment.
for sure.
Some of them are like on an exclusive basis, some of them aren't. But they're like they're so nice because you can like play it for a week and you'll be done. Yeah, it's just nice, and they're also different as well. They're all quite creative because they're indie games. They have that sort of creative freedom, and so like it's quite refreshing because I do find that if I play a lot of games in the same genre, I just get like fatigued. I get genre fatigue, and so hopping between these is just so like it's so refreshing.
Yeah, they all feel so different for sure, and it's just less. It feels like not a chore, but it's not quite as daunting to quickly boot up like an indie game that's on Games Pass and play that for a little bit than it is to start, like Mass Effect 3 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's not quite the emotional and mental journey that you have to try and embark on. It's just, you kind of just do it, right?
You can dip your toes in it and it's kind of no harm done.
Yeah, exactly.
Next up, last week you may recall the QRP, that's us, talking about Quake, and sort of a scoop that we read online, and obviously QuakeCon has happened now, and there was in fact a Quake remaster confirmed, and we correctly predicted, being the video game industry analyst that we are, correctly predicted that it was it's just Quake 1. It's just Quake 1. It's like there's a couple of upscale things like an additional level or something like that. It's nothing huge, but good for people like fans of Quake, and it is coming, and this is the weird part, actually it's coming to all consoles, and actually generated a bit of controversy. It's coming to PC and all consoles, so I don't know where we start. I guess we probably don't have anything to say about like Quake, do we? Other than cool. Am I right in assuming that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we talked about it last episode. When we were just like, if it happens, it happens. It's not, for us at least, it's not groundbreaking. It's not. And I think for a lot of people as well, I think even Quake fans are just like, oh, it's coming back. That's kind of cool, but I don't think they're popping champagne bottles and going mental, especially as it's just a remaster, not a remake.
Or a reboot.
So I think we can agree on that. Yeah.
Cool. And like, so sort of the bigger point here is obviously that it was multiplat, and this is kind of interesting because if you remember at the Bethesda joins Xbox roundtable when Phil sort of made his like declarative statement on like exclusivity, he said the big word that he used was legacy. That's what he said. He said, everything we do, we're going to use it to bolster Game Pass. That's just the way it is. Soz. he said there are things that are sort of legacy, and we'll go and do that. And obviously, there is like a very small bit of wiggle room in like what that could mean.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about this before. I think this is one of those cases where Quake is considered a legacy game. Does it have legacy on PlayStation? I mean, I don't think so, but you know,
No.
you consider it a legacy title, especially Quake 1. So it generated conversation because it's happened at a time where we've obviously had Starfield and Redfall. We know that these games are exclusives. The pattern is that these games are new IP, and I think a lot of people were kind of in agreement, other than the heathens and the non-believers, that new IPs would be exclusive. There was more of a doubt for games that were already existing, like Wolfenstein, for example, Wolfenstein 3, or like maybe a Doom 3. You know, I don't think there will be a Doom 3, but you get my point.
Yeah.
Like, would they be? Because does that count as legacy? And the overall consensus seems to have shifted towards no. Like, Xbox are going to tie this down. But now we've also had like a couple of things where like it's gotten a bit rocky, because there was a Hellblade 2 optimization patch, which was exclusive very recently, and there was something else recently. What was it? There was something else that wasn't. I think it might have been another optimization. Well, there's another one in the form of Skyrim, which we'll get back round to. Skyrim Anniversary Edition. Todd does it again by releasing another
Todd.
Skyrim. Yeah, and that's coming to all consoles. You know, you would have thought maybe. I mean, is Skyrim legacy? Like, I don't know. So, like, this is where that grey area starts to creep in again. Because, like, if Skyrim's legacy, what's to stop Wolfenstein being legacy? You know, like that would Wolfenstein 3 would be multiplat, and
Yeah.
strategically, they really should not be. So this is what I mean. It opens a can of worms again a little bit, and thankfully it didn't generate as much conversation as I thought it would. But I think it creates a bit more room for doubt for games that are not new IP, but new from older franchises.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, right? Like,
It's a bit weird. I'd have thought they'd just take the losses and be like, you know, for brand image sake, you know, just for consistency. Xbox PC only, sorry.
yeah, right. And like you said, I feel like even Quake, obviously we're talking about in this scenario, like that's not exactly a PlayStation. It's not that Quake wasn't big on PlayStation. I don't think at all. Like even the later ones. So I feel like it had like a large portion of its scene was on PC and Xbox. So it does seem a little bit weird. And yeah, it does make me a little bit nervous for all these other games, because I was on board with the whole, you know, Wolfenstein 3 would just be locked at Xbox, right?
And Elder Scrolls as well, obviously.
And Elder Scrolls, yeah. I mean, Elder Scrolls is a bit different because they're all separate stories told. They're not like continuous, like Wolfenstein 1, 2, and 3.
You feel they're more episodic, sort of.
Will be follow-ons. Yeah, exactly. They follow the same characters. They follow a storyline, whereas Elder Scrolls doesn't really. Oblivion was completely separate from Skyrim in almost
that's
every way.
That's an interesting take. I haven't heard that before. Okay, well that's fine. Let's swing right around to that.
Yeah, so but
yeah, it is. It literally is. What you're doing is literally me. I'm just
and it just makes me think, like, it would just make me annoyed. I don't want to just be there and be like, yeah, like putting the dagger inside Sony and shivving them and being like, fuck you, we're getting Wolfenstein 3. But I'm also just like, if Wolfenstein 3 and all these, what were a couple of the other ones you use as an example?
Wolfenstein 3, if not Elder Scrolls, maybe Dishonoured.
Oh yeah, and like a Doom,
maybe Prey.
Yeah,
Doom.
All those sort of things. It's just like, if they do come out and they are on PlayStation, I'm like, what did Microsoft buy Bethesda for? Like, what's going on? Like, what, we might get to play them at like higher resolutions or something, but like, I don't. And obviously they're coming into Games Pass. We'd have to buy them. Yeah, fine. But it's like, I don't know. I just get this. Why did we buy them? Right.
Yeah,
And it just makes me a
but
little
like
bit nervous.
I'm totally in
Nervous.
agreement, and like I think that's what like a lot of people are feeling. You know, and when we say we're nervous, it's not because we are dicks and we want people to not be able to play
Yeah,
these
I
games, but
don't want
like
that. Yeah,
that's not really the point. But the strategic business sense of it is like they're trying to create value on the system I bought, which, let's face it, has like had bad image for the last like almost decade now because of the lack of games there. And it would just be weird for them to not put it exclusively on the system I put a lot of money into. So it's, and obviously
yeah.
Starfield and Redfall are good examples of that being done right. But I know it sucks that other players might not be able to get to play Wolfenstein 3, but
It is what it is. It's
it is what it
business.
is.
Like
Unfortunately, yeah.
I don't control how business works, but if Microsoft has spent a crap ton of money, then I feel like we have the rights for this sort of thing. I don't know. It's kind of weird, and I'm kind of just looking it up. Obviously, we know Skyrim came out. Skyrim and Wolfenstein both came out at a very similar time as well. So if we're talking release date and what's considered legacy, if all this new if the new Skyrim edition that fucking Toddy Boy just announced is coming to all platforms, and that's considered to be legacy, then surely Wolfenstein does fall into that same category with a similar release window when it was first
Yeah.
announced and
Well, I
everything.
mean, don't forget Wolfenstein. Like, is a reboot. Wolfenstein's quite an old franchise, so
Yes, yeah, yeah,
like
true.
even more so.
Yeah,
That would be the case even more so. But I just feel like there have been people who've been saying like you need to stop playing nice. You need to stop playing nice because if there was
yeah,
any, and we had this conversation when Bethesda got bought, around like if Sony acquired Bethesda or if Nintendo acquired Bethesda, there would be no
yeah.
singular fucking doubt that these games would not see the light of day on any other system. So
Hmm.
I understand Microsoft's approach is more open platform. Obviously, we've got the PC cross-play, cross-share, whatever. But that's kind of beside the point. Put your games on those two platforms. That they don't need to be on other platforms. Like generate
Yeah,
value for me. I want to be convinced. like, so
yeah.
convince me. Stop trying to. So it's
Yeah, you're trying to convince all these consumers that their favorite games are all from Bethesda. That this is the home where you play those games, and you don't play them anywhere else, right? Otherwise, they're just
yeah.
going to be like, "Oh, well, they said that Bethesda and Xbox are a family, but then I'm looking here, and I can also buy it on my PlayStation. So like it's not incentivizing them to just be an Xbox exclusive user just for their favorite games, right? You know,
Exactly,
but
and that's what I mean. We've gone into the whole exclusive conversation literally because of this tiny, tiny little reboot. But it's the principle. I said it was a can of worms because it quite literally is because it opens up. It means you're trying to understand why they're doing what they're doing, and if they're doing it because they plan on putting other of these legacy titles on cross-platform, then you start thinking, I'm just what's the direction again? Like it just kind of it felt clear beforehand, and now this has happened, and I'm like, even though this is literally probably a nothing burger, and it's just podcasters just speaking for content, but I it probably is just an outlier in the sense that Quake is obviously very old, and it would be maybe bad PR to just put it on their platforms, but would it really? Would it really be bad PR? Like, this shit happens all
no,
the time.
I
Sony doesn't
think
catch that much heat for locking games down for over a year, so nobody would give a shit, I don't think.
yeah, exactly. I think at the end of the day, I think the initial response would be like, oh, well, that's kind of not cool. But then I think people would just be like, well, actually, I mean, they did buy them, so
Yeah.
like
And
it does
funded
it
it.
does yeah it does kind of make sense, right? Like I,
Exactly.
it's a bit weird. It's a
The,
bit
the
weird.
other the other side of it to like maybe try and explain it is that it's been in development for 18 months. That's what they said on the announcement. So, that's obviously before Bethesda was officially acquired. Um I mean, Starfield and Redfall obviously fall into that camp as well, but this is just one of those things where it's they probably had already like done most of the work for other platforms anyway, so it's just like, oh, fucking, whatever. Like Toddy Boy's just like, in his dressing gown against a fire, like with a cup of whiskey, and they call him like, well, I mean, we could take it off PlayStation, but we're kind of already done. And Phil's just like, fucking do what you want. Goes back to
share the wealth. Yeah, it definitely. Yeah. Whereas on the opposite end of the pond, I feel like if that phone call came through to Sony, it'd just be like, axe it, bury them all, bury it all in a desert, all the physical copies.
All the digital copies.
They're like, we
just
can't
the
do
server,
that. Like. So yeah,
in the Sahara Desert.
But then I mean, the whole principle of it, I'm annoyed by. But then, it being Quake, I'm not that annoyed because I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Quake boy myself, anyway. But it's the principle more so.
And we spoke about last week, looking at the sort of the wider strategy. Potentially is like, they could be testing the waters for a full remake. It'd have had a lot of success with these Doom reboots. Maybe they do a Quake reboot, which is, it will use id Tech, that the same engine. It'll be largely similar, but it'll be different vibe, different weapons, approach to combat. So I mean, maybe releasing it multi-platform on one hand gives them more data essentially to see, does Quake still have a cultural relevance? Are people still interested? And secondly, it's kind of like a bit of a bait. It's kind of a bit of a debate because it's like they get other platforms excited about Quake and then announce a reboot in a couple of years. Oh, sorry, only on Xbox and PC. Got to buy an Xbox now, don't you? So like, if that's the wider strategy, then like, yeah, fair enough. But then, depends what they would do with a Quake reboot. I would assume a full Quake reboot to the same scale of Doom 2016 would be exclusive. Cool. It would be dumb for them to not be, but
who knows?
We'll have to see.
Yeah, it could be a dangle the carrot scenario. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, totally. So that's Quake for you. I mean, do we need to say anything about Skyrim? There's another fucking Skyrim.
I'm actually genuinely hearing this news. Just it annoyed me. Like it actually annoyed me. And I love Skyrim. I have played that game to death. I loved that game. But I am so fucking sick of seeing this game pop up. This game has just. It has to be the biggest like single player cash grab I've ever
so much money.
I mean, we joke about this all the time. That like you can play Skyrim on your toilet seat will be able to play Skyrim soon. You can play it. You can play it at an ATM when you're getting cash out, like stuff like that. We've always joked about this, but it's fucking. Oh my god! Just stay dead, please.
It'll never die. Skyrim will never die. And if anything, it like speaks to the magnitude of the relevance of Skyrim. It's crazy. Like for a lot of people, Skyrim is like synonymous with a video game. Like loads of people I know who don't even really play games know what Skyrim is.
Yeah,
and they don't even know. Some of them don't even know what Elder Scrolls is, but they know what Skyrim is.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, and so and it is a bit confusing the way they announced it because and obviously this is multiplayer, which again I find a bit kind of weird. But you get a free upgrade from the special edition, which came out like when was it, 2014 or something, 2015. On the Xbox One and PS4, and that will have all the next gen improvements, and on Xbox only. So there's like a very slim thing that Xbox users get as part of it for free. Is some bits and bobs of the creation club content. I think fishing was one of them, and like a quest line, some shit. It's like not much, but or so that's just the base game. So I know. Well, I guess the whole game will get all the next gen upgrades. Yeah, and then so you can buy the anniversary edition, which is like a tenner or something. I don't actually have the price up in front of me, but that gets you like
The expansions.
The whole game, yeah, obviously it comes with the next gen upgrades, all the expansions, and like 500 pieces of content from the Creation Club. So if you don't know, that's like mod stuff that has been like verified essentially by Bethesda Game Studios. They're like, this is a really high standard. We're going to leave this in the game. I'm assuming there'll be like, a checklist to toggle it on and off, but so stuff that's been made on PC, presumably, yeah, and then put it over, which is nice, to be fair. That's a lot of content, and a lot of these mods are really high quality. So that's kind of cool. It's a bit weird that you have to, like, we don't just get the Anniversary Edition as part of Games Pass. I think that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think that's very weird. I don't see why we should. But...
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like Games Pass doesn't often give like expansions on it. Like expansions aren't really on the game. That's not really a thing. I think that because that's generally how they get you. It's like making drinks expensive at a restaurant. They get you on the upsell, get them in the door with the base game, and then buy the microtransactions or the extra additional DLC. So that might just be why. That's just kind of the way that they work with Games Pass. But it's not much. But it is fucking funny. It is fucking funny.
Stupid. I don't want it. I
to be fair,
have zero interest.
I'm going to see how it looks, because like you say that, but then if it's like a proper really good next gen upgrade,
I'm not going back.
I might dip my toes in.
I'll see what it looks like on a 4K YouTube video or something like that. I'm not downloading that game. I refuse to download that game again. I'm just and I love it, but I feel like I have to take a stand. Otherwise, it will just never stop.
It will infect everything.
It will never stop.
It's so funny as well, because Todd like had an interview with IGN like a few years back, and he was like, they asked him like, "Are you ever going to stop remaking Skyrim?" And the name of the article was Todd Howard says, "If you want us to stop remaking Skyrim, stop buying it." that's literally it.
Exactly. Yeah. And he has it's a very valid
balls
point.
on that, man. Yeah.
I don't know. It's great for anyone who wants to play Skyrim again. That's fantastic. Yeah. But I'm done for the 50th time to complete it. I'm good.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, right, we're done. We're done with that part. We're in the realm of looking at jobs postings and things like that. So essentially what this is, Zenimax Online Studios, according to their website, are working on multiple new projects, including a new AAA IP. We have spoken about this before, and this isn't like immensely new news, but the multiple projects part is new. We all knew they were working on something, and like we've spoken about the possibility of it being with LucasArts, maybe something Star Wars like, because obviously it's the same team that did ESO. So that is new. So I mean, I don't know what they're up to. They said there's lots of sneaky shit going on with some of the Bethesda studios, because the second part of that is Machine Games as well, who are the guys who make Wolfenstein. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Are they making Wolfenstein 3? It doesn't seem like it, because there's a job listing from them saying that they're like the things they've asked for on the job requirement is understanding multiplayer bots as human replacements, and knowledge and experience designing player companions. And that gives off the impression of like a multiplayer game. So like, what the fuck is going on? What are you doing? What are you making?
I don't know, man.
Why don't you know?
I don't know. But I guess it's you can't really talk about it much, right? It's one of those things. But it's just cool, I guess. AAA IPs are being created by all these developers. Machine Games being one, and Zenimax being one. I mean, Zenimax literally only do MOBAs, right? And online
MOBAs?
Games. Online games. Sorry, I meant. What did I mean?
You meant MMO.
What's ESO? MMO.
You meant, thank you. Yeah. God, I never want to see you like that again. That was real distress.
I couldn't, dude. It's been a long day. You're
doing great.
I'm so tired.
I'm with you. There's only so
tired.
much we can
Yeah.
talk about this.
So
But
they make MOBAs. I'm kidding. They make MMOs. So it's quite. Would it be? Would it be a Star Wars MMO? Be kind of cool.
we've spoken about the possibility of that. There have been like some rumors. Obviously, nothing's verified. No like reliable insiders have said anything. But like, maybe. And obviously, Machine Games are working on Indiana Jones, so we know that. That's a thing. And so it might just be possible that like Wolfenstein has been put on pause because they've got Big Papa Disney giving them money to make an Indiana Jones game, so maybe they're just prioritizing that. But that doesn't explain this shit. That does not explain this shit.
Maybe Indiana Jones will be a multiplayer game.
A multiplayer mode.
Yeah. Everyone is 12v12. Everyone's whipping each other.
God, could you imagine? Whipping simulator featuring Indiana Jones.
Good, man. It could be pretty good. I can see a gap in the market for it.
I can't, but that's fine.
But yeah, I don't know. All you can really do is just be like, great. There's stuff in the works, right? It's exciting, but it's just, who knows? It could literally be anything.
Wolfenstein Youngblood 2.
Wolfenstein MOBA.
No.
Wait, Wolfenstein Youngblood 2? Didn't that game get absolutely bombed?
69 on Metacritic, so I mean, sort of.
Like,
I mean, it's just, like I said, man, I mean, it wasn't popular for sure, but people act like it was, one of the, like, what are they called? Horseman Apocalypse?
The Apocalypse.
The Apocalypse, just the...
Oh, right. The Apocalypse.
Yeah, no, you got it. Sorry, man. Yeah, like this implies that there's... I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean multiplayer, I guess. That could be like co-op, so... I don't know, man. I don't know, man. Yeah. Let's move on.
Knowledge and experience of designing player companions. That's just like a player companion. You get those all the time in RPGs.
Like an AI teammate, yeah.
Yeah. Lydia from Skyrim. We all love Lydia.
Everybody loves Lydia. You definitely don't.
Yeah, everyone didn't kill her off with the mountain troll. Nobody did that.
Or leave her to wait for you forever outside the cave. Never.
I always got her killed by the mountain troll when I was climbing up the mountain. She's knocked off the mountain. She's dead. Done. Anyway.
You're sick. Yeah, okay.
Moving on.
Moving on. We have there were some more games announced for Games Pass Ultimate. There were some more games announced for touch controls as well, which is good. I like seeing this, man. I like seeing this because I think this is quite nifty, and I like nifty things. And one of those games is Hades, which means the only
on touch control. I'm just gonna fucking say it.
I've heard good things. I don't think it would suck. I mean, what? Because of the latency, you mean?
Well, just the fact that it's so precise, everything you have to do in that game, and I just don't feel like touch controls are precise enough for a game like that on a phone. I just don't think it would work.
If it works on the Switch, it can work on a phone. The analog sticks on the Switch are like trying to move around tiny little like
better than
pieces
a phone
of poo.
Analog stick.
Well, yeah, but not by. I mean, yeah, but I mean, it would be a virtual one. But no, I think it'd be fine. But what is the larger point is that the only place to play Hades, although the only way to play Hades on a phone right now, is by Xbox Games Pass.
Yeah, so
until they inevitably release it natively on phones. That was got to happen at some point.
Yeah. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Alongside this, I think the original Psychonauts, Peggle 2, the Wasteland trilogy, Farming Simulator, my favorite game. Just a couple of nice things. And upcoming games for Games Pass as well. Obviously, 12 minutes this week. Psychonauts 2? Oh, fucking hell, that's this week. God damn it. Oh, my backlog. I just got on top of my backlog. So that's happening. Jedi Fallen Order, Battlefront
There's
2.
something else coming out like right before Psychonauts as well. What is it? Like the day before. What is it?
Is there?
Anyway, carry on listing the games while I wrap.
Oh, it's Alien. It's Aliens Fireteam.
Oh, that's it. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that coming into Games Pass?
I
No.
don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not really too sure. But
is...
yeah, that looked kind of fun. And the release date, that's kind of snuck up out of nowhere. I mean, that's literally coming out in 2 days.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll have to see our reviews.
Yeah, because that's the sort of game we normally quite enjoy. But anyway, yeah. Carry on listing the Games Pass games.
That's pretty much it, man. There's not a huge amount, but yeah, just some more games added to touch controls, and then a couple more games added to Games Pass. I'm surprised we haven't seen more FPS boost games. Maybe we'll see some of that at Gamescom.
Maybe
because I like that. I like that tech a lot. And there's some games I would like to sort of go back to. But yeah, that's that on the Games Pass front. I wanted to also, while on the topic of Gamescom, the developers of the Gunk, such a funny name, Gunk. Thunderful Games are the developer. They confirmed their presence at Gamescom, so that's that's a confirmation, that's a lock. But it also gives you an idea of what we're likely to see. And we spoke about this last week. It's games that have already been announced, mostly probably that are coming out this year that we maybe haven't heard about. Things like I said earlier, Scorn, Crossfire X, Gunk. As Dusk Falls, things like that. So not massive stuff, but still stuff to be excited about nonetheless. So that was a thing.
Yeah, kind of cool.
Tim?
Yeah?
Tim?
What can I do for you, man?
What, how, on a scale of 0 to 10, how mad does it make you that our dashboard on our Xbox Series X is only at 1080p?
On a scale of 10, out of 10?
Out of 10, yeah.
10, absolutely 10. I boot up my Xbox every single day and I want to pull my hair out.
Well, fear no longer.
God,
we're getting a 4K dashboard, bro. It's happening. The time is now. We're living in the future. The technology is finally there.
See, how can they do that, but then not have co-op Halo campaign?
I don't know.
It boggles the mind. It really does.
Because that's such a leap forward, really.
It's insane. Even though 4K was a thing, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean it was a bit weird. If you don't follow any of this stuff, it's a bit weird because that is kind of weird anyway, in and of itself. But other like the PS5 has a 4K dashboard, and allegedly, they didn't want to put 4K onto the dashboard because they wanted to keep space freed up for like development. So without dedicating more GPU and stuff to the dashboard, but they found a way to do it which is not like hardware intensive, so that's why it's happening now, which is kind of cool.
I mean, that was the real console seller for a PS5 over an Xbox.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Thank God we've now evened the playing field.
Yeah, definitely. Although I will say it is quite nice in combination with some of the dynamic themes, because they are very cool actually on the Series X, like the moving backgrounds and stuff. Hopefully we get some more game ones. We say this like every fortnight, but this will make that pop, and I do quite like that. Having my Xbox on in the background is like having the kettle boil or having a blanket over me. It just provides comfort.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So that's that. Oh, we're speeding through it. We're doing so well, man. You're doing great.
Yeah.
For a sleepy boy, you're doing great.
Thanks, man.
There was a new Xbox headset announced this week. Did you know that?
I caught wind of it. Yeah, it's basically just the same thing, but wired, right?
Yeah, you got it. Nice and cheap.
Huge.
Yeah,
Again,
huge.
Jumping right into the future.
Yeah,
wired headsets.
yeah. I think it was $60, so it'll probably be like 50 quid. Which is obviously like a really nice budget price. I think that from what we read about like the features of that headset, they were generally really good, but there were some things in there that were like suited a really budget headset better. Did that sentence
Yeah,
make sense? Like,
yeah.
yes, like the music, like the audio was good, but not that good. Like the microphone was good, but not that good. And I think all of those things suit a really cheap wired headset that you can like whack into your controller.
Hmm.
Because I think that is what a lot of the casual audience does. So, yeah,
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, this will appeal to a very large group of gamers
yeah,
that just aren't like us and spend a couple £100 on a headset.
yeah.
Like for sure. Yeah, definitely.
And they have those really nice rotating cups on the side. Which God, I miss that about my Lucid sounds. I'm gonna try and
Yeah.
fix them soon, actually. But yeah, that's cool. I don't have it here actually, but I just caught wind of this listening to another podcast earlier. Shout out to the Xbox too. I Scuff recently like announced a new line of Xbox controllers. I had no
Okay.
idea, so I went and had a look. They're called. I had it. Bear with me.
I'm actually in the market for a new controller.
Yeah, I know you are.
Busted.
Yeah, that's why I thought I'd bring it up. It's called the Scuff Instinct, and obviously they're not cheap. But so there's two. There's the Scuff Instinct, and then there's the Scuff Instinct Pro. You won't find it on Amazon. It will have to be on their website. But I mean, it looks pretty nice, man. And some of the paddles on it are quite weird, and I've never been sure about the way that Scuff do their paddles because they tend to do them like vertically or like flush, like built into the controller. And I've
Yeah.
never put my hands on one, so I don't really know how that would feel because the ones on the Elite are obviously really nice. They're like responsive and clicky. But nonetheless, it looks really cool if you go on the website.
I am.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks cool.
Scuff Instinct Pro. The Pro one is obviously £189 or something. So yeah, really not cheap. But I just wanted to bring it up.
And it's actually kind of customizable as well.
Yeah, I think you can actually. Yeah, you can actually do it like a design lab.
Yeah, you can. I'm literally doing it right now.
Yeah,
Like, there's actually quite a lot of really
slow
cool
down.
Where's my wallet? It's actually, dude, some of these designs are freaking sick, man.
Yeah. So there's that, but like I don't know if you'll see what I mean about the paddles. Like they look really weird, but
Yeah,
they're like built into it, and I don't know about.
Oh,
that,
I see what you mean. Yeah, they yeah, it's a bit weird actually. They kind of look like they could be quite nice though.
Maybe, yeah. I literally don't know. It's one of those things that I can't tell unless I have it in my hands, and like £200 is a bit of a gamble for like.
I'm sure you could return it.
I'm sure you can, but you know,
you haven't got your gamer sweat on it.
Effort.
God, you can even change the buttons. Oh, dude, this is genuinely like I'm in the market for a new controller, and this looks pretty cool, man.
Nice. You can
and
get me one for my birthday as well.
No. The and it's not that much more expensive. I mean, don't get me wrong. All those design editions I was just viewing and gasping about, they're all additional on top. So if you wanted to get like I think some of them were like 20 quid extra or something like that. So you're looking at spending a decent 30-40 quid on top of the 180. If you want to personalize it, you can also get your signature on it, so you can have your gamer tag on it.
Nice.
It's also kind of cool that there's a mute button on the controller. I quite like that. I think that's pretty cool.
I like that as well. Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, the big thing about this was that it's wireless. This is the first line of Scuff for Xbox that's been wireless. They've all been wired. Okay. Yeah. So that's like the big thing. But yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool, man. I actually might look into that and potentially dip into my wallet. But yeah, that is pretty cool. And yeah, the Elite V2 is about what? It was like 165, wasn't it? So you're looking at a bit more. Yeah. You're not looking at a stupid amount more. Like, you're looking at an extra like 15, 20 quid, like, and maybe it's better designed because the Elite V2, as much as it's a lovely controller, it's not. It's not going to last you.
It's
They're not
155
very
at the
durable.
moment.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a total. Your miles may vary with the with the Series 2. It's hard to recommend because shit breaks on it. But if yours doesn't, it's literally like the best controller ever made. You know?
Yeah, it's a great controller. It's just yeah, and I mean maybe we use it a bit more intensely than anyone else, playing a lot of FPS games quite consistently for a casual gamer who still wants to, you know, he has the cash, you know, he wants to splash his cash around a bit, or she does. You know, they might get a very good mileage out of it and not have any issues with it. But yeah, we have all had issues with it.
Exactly. I've sent mine back before, so
yeah, our mates had issues with it. I've got issues with mine. Like, it's not just a one-off thing. So,
and it's almost always the bumpers. They just need to fix that shit. They just need to like change the way they do bumpers for the next line of Xbox controllers. It's always the bumpers that go, because the grips are a lot better on the second one, aren't they? I haven't had any problems with the grip, which was my biggest complaint about the series, the first Elite controller.
I've got a lot of stick drift on mine as well, like a lot.
Oh yeah. Have you tried tightening
I
it?
could put it down and spin around in 360s like quite easily.
You might be able to tighten it, man. We should give that a go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was that. Little tangent there.
Cool. Cool.
But yeah, that's that. I mean, we don't have too much more to go over. I'm just like trying to be because there is quite a lot we could go over, but we're both pretty tired, and I don't want to overdo it. So let's. There's a Dishonored project in the works at Netflix.
It's kind of cool, man.
It's kind of cool. It's just like
it's definitely got a good vibe for a TV show or a movie. Like, for sure. Like, Corvo is a pretty cool character. It's a pretty gritty world. It could definitely be developed into film.
What about Emily?
Quite nicely. And Emily, I guess. She's it's just it's a cool world that you could see adapted into film quite nicely, actually. And I know there's a terrible history with video game movies, but
it's a curse.
So yeah, that really freaks me out. But yeah, I have faith still. I heard the new Mortal Kombat was kind of good.
That was not bad, supposedly. Yeah.
I heard that was pretty good.
Isn't there like a Witcher like anime that's been going, and the Witcher TV show that's been good? I mean, I suppose that's not a game thing though, is it? It's based off the book, so
I guess. Yeah.
We can't take the W on that one.
No.
And there's also, I'm pretty sure Netflix are also working with Bethesda on a Fallout series as well, or a Fallout film. I'm sure that's a thing.
Okay.
I'm so sure that's a thing.
I think it could be adapted into a series better than a movie, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe. And let's just not forget about, you know, the Halo TV show that's definitely happening.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we've seen that done well. To be fair, the web series of Halo was really good. The one that was I mean, it was all edited into a full movie, but those were individual episodes of like a web series. And those were great. I really enjoyed Forward Unto Dawn. I thought they did. I thought it was good.
They did Nightfall as well before Halo 5, which was also not bad either.
Yeah, I watched that. Yeah, I heard that was pretty good. Yeah.
So there we go. There is hope. There is hope. There's hope for a mediocre Dishonored Netflix show.
Yeah.
Mate, Sea of Thieves. Let's just take a moment.
Yeah, I am very happy for them.
4.8 million players in June, obviously following the A Pirate's Life expansion. Not only is that obviously a whopping number, it's their biggest number. This game is approaching 3 years old. Hang on. Yeah, it's approaching 3 years old. And it just had its biggest month ever. Like, I don't ever want to hear again that Sea of Thieves is bad. I will hear Sea of Thieves is not for me, but I don't ever want to hear this because there's a market for this game. The potential for it was through the roof, and I'm really glad they steered it into a position where it's tapping into that potential now. Because that's that's unheard of, this sort of stuff happening. Especially for games that a lot of people consider to be controversial. It's like this.
Yeah, not everyone's cup of tea. Yeah, it's
Exactly,
not just
yeah.
a standard shooter. They push the boat out with this one.
Push the sloop out. Yeah. So big congrats, boys and girls at Rare, killing it. Yeah. Keep going. I'm always excited to see what comes next to Sea of Thieves. So that's something else we'll have to do at some point as well.
Go back.
That'd be fun to stream. Man.
Have the addiction come back. That game is like an addiction to me. Like I have no interest in playing it. Then this man's just like hooks me on little fishing rod, and then it's just I do love it. Like it is a fantastic game. I love it way more than I care to admit, and I do think a large part of it is who you play with as well. Like I just think that we make everything quite funny and quite fun, and we just piss about a lot. It's definitely that was definitely a part of it. I feel like if I played that with some of my other friends, it might not have been the happy experience I did really enjoy. Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, well, we had a literal experience of we took two of our mates into Sea of Thieves, and they're not the biggest enthusiasts, but they sucked it up and came with us. One of them just stayed on the ship and started playing on his Switch. Didn't tell us. He just stayed still and just fucked off for a couple of hours.
Super Smash Bros on his Switch.
Yeah. And the other one fell asleep on the fucking mic.
He literally fell asleep, yeah. And me and Deck were just like two manning a galleon.
Trying to steer it.
I was so mad.
It's not a game that you can switch off and play. It requires a lot of thinking, and that isn't for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. But it's good, and I'm really glad it's still going. Like you said. And it's not still going. It's the biggest it's ever been. It's really really great to see.
Yeah, and like we're at a point now where like Sea of Thieves is a certified hit. I know people will go back for console wars and list wars, and they'll go back to the Metacritic and they'll be like, oh, it has 69 on Metacritic. It's like, well, come on. I mean, that's a bad faith argument because the game's been re-reviewed in like the 8 to 9 range. It's doing really well. So. I'm really happy that it is still going, and it's ultimately the biggest new IP that Xbox has had since the Xbox One generation, really. So massive success, and I'm always happy to hear as well on the developer blogs. They're always like, oh, there's so much more to come, things like that. They always have more going because I think this is just that sort of game that really benefits from having these content dumps and updating that sandbox and stuff. So we'll have to see. I just want to ask you, I mean, because Sea of Thieves doesn't come up on the podcast that often, but I just wanted to ask, what would you want to be added to Sea of Thieves?
I mean,
what would you see in a trailer that you'd be like, that looks so cool. That looks fun. I need to go and play that.
I don't know, to be honest. I feel like a lot of the things that I wanted when I played it back in the day, and I complained about it not being very bare bones, have genuinely been added to the game now. So I struggle to think of anything right off the top of my head.
For me,
I would like to say maybe... I don't know. Yeah, I'm not actually too sure, to be honest. Maybe like another cool mythical creature to be added, because I did really like the Megalodon edition. That was probably one of my favorite editions ever, because it was actually genuinely a really cool fight where the Kraken kind of fucking sucked. Let's be real. So yeah, maybe another cool like mythical creature like that or something could be kind of neat. But
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Because I think in the Pirates Alive expansion, I think there is like a full size Kraken fight where like you see its head and everything. It's not just the tentacles.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good one. I wonder what I think because there is like markings on the islands around the game that like of like giant birds and stuff like that. And I guess they just added sirens, like mermaids. But
Yeah,
maybe
they
not
did. Yeah,
not on the same scale of maybe what you're talking about. Like a giant mythical creature. I'm guessing is what you're vibing for.
And I'd like to see it with nautical combat as well, because ground combat sucks in Sea of Thieves. I don't want a ground combat raid boss.
Yeah,
I want a nautical combat raid boss.
And for me, I think it would be like an overhaul of the arsenal. Like if they just added like 3 more weapon types, and a couple of different new melee weapons, I'd be like, I know the on foot combat is rough and the shooting is rough. We've spoken about that before, but it doesn't help that there's just not that much variety.
It'd be kind of cool to have like a shield, wouldn't it? Like an offhand,
yeah, just stuff like that.
Sword, so you could actually have proper brawls and stuff.
Yeah, if they had a content update that was just that, like a bunch or at least a number of different weapon types, that'd be quite exciting, I think. And they're doing quite a good job with like adding. I don't know how you describe them, like limited use weapons, like in the world, like there are the fire bombs, the blunder bombs, like cursed cannonballs. There's like I think I've told you there's like one of those skeletons you can find roaming that you kill them. They're like fire breathing and you kill them and you get a skull and it acts as a flamethrower and you can go and sell it, but its value diminishes the more you use it, or you can just use it to like, set ships on fire to like for PvE. And siren staff as well. I think in the newest update you can kill like sirens and they drop their staffs and you can use that to like fire bubbles at people and shit. So I think that sort of stuff is really cool, but there needs to be more that like you can just start with. I'm tired of using that fucking pistol. Yeah,
for sure.
Cool. Sea of Thieves segue.
Nice.
Yeah, congrats to the team. Hopefully next time we hear about it, it's even more good news. I mean, I wonder if they'll continue to do other expansions. Like
sure,
or like partnerships, I guess is what I mean. Like not Sea of Thieves, maybe like I can't even think of anything else, but like you know what I mean.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I'm sure.
Little Mermaid.
Something. Yeah, that would definitely not work.
Alrighty.
Meg with Jason Statham.
Yeah, the Meg. Oh, we can only dream, can't we?
Oh god, Jason Statham in Sea of Thieves, make it happen.
All right, last one, dude. I've got like a note in here for like possibly to speak about the whole Fortnite ripping off Among Us, but I think we'll leave that. You saw that. So the last thing we'll speak about is Outriders. Do you remember Outriders? Do you remember that game?
I do. I remember it.
It was the first game we spoke about on this podcast, and I thought we'd still be playing it. I'm quite sad that I'm not, to be honest.
It died pretty quick, didn't it?
It did. Which is really annoying. But the news is that Square Enix came out and said, or was it Square Enix or was it People Can Fly? It was People Can Fly. Yeah, said that they haven't broken even on the game yet, and even after the game was like, we spoke about this, it was like a hit at launch. At least it seemed like it had loads of players. It was viral. The virality of it was quite big in terms of the amount of people talking about it online. So this does shock me, and what this has led the Twitter troglodytes to do is like blame Games Pass, because like of course there is this kind of like bad faith, like concern trolling approach to Games Pass, which is it's killing the industry. It's gonna rob developers of profits, which are like none of this is like verifiably true. But some people have said that this is a symptom of Games Pass because a lot of people played it on Games Pass. The developers didn't get the money, and there's obviously no upsell on Outriders. There was no microtransactions or anything, and now people have flocked away from the game, and ultimately that's hurt the game. That's what is being said on one side of the fence. What do you think?
I mean, it's hard to know when you don't know the metrics behind Games Pass and how Microsoft and like pay these developers based on how their game performs on Games Pass. You don't know if it's done by downloads. You don't know. I'm sure some of it is. You don't know if it's done by like retention rates or overall time played or anything like that, or whether or not it's just like a lump sum. Like without knowing the logistics of how Games Pass works for a developer, I don't know. I feel like it's quite hard to say that it is shafting them or it isn't shafting them. We don't know, right? But I mean, it hasn't. I don't know. I genuinely don't really know how to really think about it or how to really speak about it. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, like, I'm just looking at it from the the for and against argument. I think there probably is something to be said about the fact that a lot of Xbox players didn't buy the game. They probably did go into it with Games Pass because as much as the game got like a moderate amount of hype, it was still an unknown quantity. It was like there was some rough edges on things.
Yeah.
They did like a beta, didn't they? It was a demo. It was a demo.
Yeah.
So people were like quite comfortable knowing what they were getting, but so there probably is an argument to be made that a lot of Xbox players did do that, and also the case that there are likely some cases where it benefits Xbox more than the developers or the publishers. As much as we consider Games Pass to be a win-win, it doesn't come without its drawbacks. Like Xbox want you on the service because it increases accessibility for you as a dev. More people get it in their hands, but the drawback of that is that people potentially don't buy it as much. And we've said on the show that Phil has said before that like overall Games Pass subscribers are buying more, but that doesn't apply to every game. Like it doesn't make sense that people are like subscribing to a single player game, beating it after 15 hours and then buying it. That doesn't make any sense. Overall, on average, I'm sure that there is this sort of like rising tide effect where that is happening with some games, particularly like service games or when they leave the service or things like that. So I think there probably is some fairness in thinking that this just might be one of those cases where the game didn't come out as hot as it should have done. Game breaking bugs for months. Absolute cardinal sins the game made that no loot game should ever make. That probably drove people away. And a lot of people probably stepped away from it like, thank God I got to play that on Games Pass. And I'm sure like Xbox are very happy that they got to make that deal because they essentially, they got the good press when the game came out, but dodged any negativity because or left a lot of customers feeling really satisfied that they got to play it through Games Pass, especially as that was like one of the first big AAA games that launched into it. A lot of people probably came out of that like, wow, thank God for Games Pass, So I think this is one of those cases where actually it just benefited Xbox more than the developer. Possibly. I think that's the for argument. The against argument is obviously that this is a multi-platform game. Xbox isn't the market leader, so I don't see how Xbox could realistically have that much weight on the amount of profit that people can fly and Square Enix made on this game anyway. So those numbers don't really add up to me, but that's what I would say the kind of the scales are.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's the amount the game was bought on PlayStation or Steam has nothing to do with just because the sales were low there, that has nothing to do with Games Pass. It's not like people went out, bought an Xbox and then got a free month of Games Pass just to play Outriders. No, like and like you said, we're not the market leaders, so it's a pretty small slice to just say that it's of it is Xbox and to blame Games Pass for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
yeah,
I kind of agree, and I think it just goes to show that maybe just a specific type of game just benefits being on Games Pass more than others, right? Games that have upsell, games that have microtransactions, expansions, stuff like that. Because you probably find like a game like ESO being on Games Pass done nothing but reap rewards, right? Because
Be good for it, yeah.
people probably really like the base game, and then the expansions are like 30 quid a pop. Great, like a lot of content, and people probably buy those, and it just it's maybe it's just a specific type of game. It's just more beneficial on Games Pass. So
yeah.
but,
Yeah, and it should be said as well, just to clarify, that the devs didn't say anything that would indicate that it was Games Pass, but it's just as I said, it's the Twitter troglodytes, the old TTs at it again. So yeah, we did it.
We did it, man.
We did it.
The first hungover episode.
The hungover special. Oh my god! Wow. Any closing words for QRP 21?
I want to go to bed.
Ladies and gentlemen, he wants to go to bed.
I want to go to bed.
All right, man.
Subscribe, like the video, do it from your own bed if you need to. Just whatever.
Help him sleep. He won't sleep if you don't subscribe. If you don't like the video,
I like how this was like one of our longest episodes as well. Like, why do we do?
We just rambled.
Why do we do this to ourselves?
Nah, it's a lot of news. It's a busy week, man.
It was.
So we will be back next week, hopefully, to speak about the new stuff that happened at Gamescom. We'll be energized because for us, it's a bank holiday Monday next week. Did you know that?
Yeah.
So not this Monday.
Yeah.
Not this Monday after.
Yeah. I mean, we normally try and do this on a Sunday though, and I have to admit, chances are probably next Sunday I'm going to be hungover again.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
It's
such an alcoholic.
It's safe to say I made a few packs last night, because apparently me leaving at 1 a.m. was quitting early. So people were like, "Oh, next week because when we win the league next week, we're officially number 1 if we win our next game." Yeah, they were just like, "You're staying out and you're getting trolleyed."
Okay, we'll cross our fingers that you lose then.
Yeah.
No offense.
So I could be hungover again.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. If we're really lucky, we might even have a Halo flighting. And if we're really, really, really lucky and we give out a lot of sloppy blowjobs, we might both be in it.
Yeah, I still haven't played Halo Infinite. This is ridiculous. So signed up for it as the E3 conference was happening. Fuck's sake! If I don't get the next flying, I think I'll just drive to Birmingham and take your Xbox in the night.
It's okay. You can just come up for it. Right, ladies and gents, we're going to sign off. Thanks for your attention.